The next name you hear will be the 2011 Mr. Olympia. And the title of 2011 Mr. Olympia to our winner tonight.
I said I'm not going to do any promos, nothing, until I own it. Placed third at my first Mr. Olympia contest in 2008. Upon that night, I realized it's possible. I just want to be Mr. Olympia. That's my dream.
Me saying it to myself, Phil, I'm going to win. I'm going to win the show.
He's a 7-time Mr. Olympia. We are talking about one of the greatest athletes of all time in any sport, not just bodybuilding. Very, very rarely does somebody keep winning over and over and over again. That's 7 times in a row. The level of consistency is crazy. There's a level of competitiveness with Phil that's almost scary.
How competitive are you really? You truly have to know who the hell you are to exude that confidence. Not arrogance, but that confidence, because you did the work. How disciplined can I be? Because I know in life, that's the only way.
The third place award, Gift Phil Heath.
And I placed third. That following year, I'm thinking, well, I'm going to win this damn thing. You know, it's my first time. Like, I got third. I'm about to go ahead and beat these guys.
In 2009, Phil Heath showed up to the Olympia with one goal: winning. He was confident, ready, and had put in the work all year to bring his best package to the stage. But then, the unthinkable happened. The night before the competition, Phil got hit with severe food poisoning. His body started rejecting everything, leaving him weak and completely dehydrated.
I just remember having the EMTs come into my room at 5:30 in the morning that Friday, and they're telling me not to compete, and I said, you know what? Give me a second. They want me to go to the hospital. I'm not going to the hospital, but if I throw it one more time, I'll go.
Even in that condition, he chose to step on stage and fight. But the illness had already taken its toll. He wasn't as full, wasn't as sharp, and it showed. After placing third the year before, he ended up dropping to 5th.
To our 5th place finisher, the Gift Phil Heath.
And I was really disappointed.
It was a tough break, but instead of letting it crush him, Phil used it as fuel. He wasn't done yet, not even close.
I'm training legs. Now, I just lost 26 pounds. And I'm talking about 26 pounds in one day. And competed. While everybody else is, partying it up Saturday, whether they won or lost, they're all having a good time, eating pizza, doing this. I'm thinking about how I'm going to get better. I said, you know what, I'm going to get my ass up. I'm going to go to the gym.
Then came 2010, the year Phil Heath proved he was more than just a contender. This was the fight with the big dogs. Phil had been training harder than ever, working with Hani Rambod, the mastermind behind the FST7 training system, pushing his body to new limits. And to make things even more intense, he was training alongside Jay Cutler, the reigning Mr. Olympia. Jay already had 3 Sandow trophies and was locked in on getting his 4th. When the Olympia finally arrived, the stage was set for an all-out war.
Going to be your 2010 Mr. Olympia champion. Now get this, I had just previously got 2nd place at the Arnold Schwarzenegger Classic that same year. So 2009, I got 5th, came back 6 months later, got 2nd, thinking I'm back in it, I'm about to go do this, got new sponsors, got some extra money in my pocket, I'm motivated, I'm ready to kick some ass, I'm doing promos, I'm telling everybody I'm coming for you, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that.
Phil stood shoulder to shoulder with Jay under the bright lights, both bringing their best physiques yet. Phil had leveled up. His muscle density, conditioning, and overall shape were on another level. You could see it. He wasn't just here to compete. He was here to win. But Jay wasn't ready to give up his crown just yet. He was bigger, sharper, and had the experience of a champion. And when the dust settled, Jay held onto his title, winning his fourth Mr. Olympia. Phil, though, he had made a massive statement. From 5th place the year before to 2nd place now, he was officially the next big thing in bodybuilding. His time was coming, and everyone knew it.
So that following year, I said, I'm not going to do any promos, nothing, until I own it.
Tell me, what was going through Phil's mind last year after placing second right behind Jay Cutler in 2011 Mr. Olympia? What went through Phil Heath's mind?
That I'm going to be the 13th Mr. Olympia.
Then came 2011, the year Phil Heath took over. The year he finally dethroned the champ and became Mr. Olympia. After coming so close in 2010, Phil locked in like never before. He wasn't just training to compete, he was training to win. This time, he carried himself like a champion before even stepping on stage. No distractions, no hype. Just putting in the work, day in and day out in complete silence. And when he finally walked onto that Olympia stage, it was game over.
Prejudging is over. It sounds like the crowd went nuts for Phil Heath tonight.
Somehow, he had leveled up from 2010. His physique was straight up unreal.
So like the year off paid off.
Tiny waist, deep cuts, and those insane round muscle bellies that made him look like a walking action figure. He had that 3D, cartoon-like freak factor that nobody else could match. Meanwhile, Jay Cutler, the 4-time champ, was just a little off. Still big, still dangerous, but not quite at his absolute best. And that was all Phil needed. Jay had been like a mentor to him, but now the student had officially surpassed the teacher. When the dust settled, Phil Heath was crowned the 2011 Mr. Olympia.
So then, when I won the Olympia in 2011, it's a different type of exhale. You close your eyes, and then for some reason, my life flashed before my eyes. It went all the way back to when I was a kid, all the way to the current time in 2011, but it showed every defining moment of my life.
Who is going to win? The next name you hear will be the 2011 Mr. Olympia, Phil Heath!
He had taken down the top dog, claimed bodybuilding's ultimate prize, and proved that his time had finally arrived. A new era had begun.
And now you are the king.
By the time 2012 rolled around, Phil Heath was sitting at the top of the bodybuilding world. He had taken down a legend in Jay Cutler the year before, proving that he was the new king of the sport. But what he didn't realize, a new challenger was rising, someone who was about to push him harder than anyone ever had. That man, Kai Greeene.
If you and Phil Heath are 100% on game day, who wins? I expect to be the last man standing this year.
From the moment prejudging started, it was clear this was a two-man battle. Phil versus Kai. The rest of the lineup, they were just fighting for third place. Phil showed up even sharper than in 2011. He was full, round, and cartoonishly 3D. Every muscle fiber was etched deep into his frame, and his conditioning was flawless. But Kai had leveled up too. This was the best package of his career. His biceps peaked like mountains, his V-taper was razor sharp, and his conditioning was absolutely crisp. He wasn't just here to compete, he was here to win. The two battled pose for pose, neither backing down. The crowd could feel it. This wasn't just another Olympia, this was personal. But as the night went on, Phil just kept getting better. Every round, every comparison, he kept refining, tightening up and sharpening his physique.
The question now, folks, is blue or green? Ladies and gentlemen, the next name I announce will be the winner of the 2012 Mr. Olympia. The first place award, the Olympia gold medal, the Sandow Trophy, Phil Heath.
And when it was all said and done, Phil Heath was crowned Mr. Olympia for the second time.
Man, it feels freaking good to be king up in here, man. I can't even lie.
What nobody realized that night, this was just the beginning. This was the start of one of the most intense and legendary rivalries in bodybuilding history. Phil was locked in. He knew Kai was coming for him, so he stayed quiet, kept his head down, and worked.
At the end of the day, he can sign whatever the hell he wants. I mean, it doesn't really matter to me. Obviously, I didn't care. All I care about is winning my third title, you know, creating this legacy that I want to live, and crushing everybody's dreams. Just like that.
When prejudging kicked off, you could see the improvements. Phil had made subtle refinements. His muscle bellies looked even fuller, his conditioning was tighter, and his trademark shape was still untouchable. Kai, on the other hand, had gone for more size to match Phil's density. But in doing so, he lost some of that razor-sharp conditioning that had made him so dangerous in 2012. And at this level, that was a mistake. When it came down to mandatory poses, Phil's crisp detail and muscle separation gave him the clear advantage. He simply outclassed Kai, and just like that, Phil Heath walked away with his third Sandow.
Folks, in Olympia tradition, the next name you hear will be your 2013 Mr. Olympia. The gold medal, the Sandow Award, and the title of 2013 Mr. Olympia. Three-time Mr. Olympia, Phil Heath!
The rivalry had gone beyond the stage. This was personal.
Yesterday, Mr. Greeene signed the poster again with the 2014 Mr. Olympia. What does Phil Heath say to that?
We're going to show you how talk is so cheap. It's so cheap. The past is the past. And the future being not dictated by the past. The past is the past.
How'd they expect mine? But I told my father before he passed that, you know, I'm going to bring one home for him. And that's what I intend to do. I'd be foolish to come up here, like I said before.
That's what the first three should have been. That's what the first three should have been. I respect your father. I respect anyone who's had a father. I didn't have one.
Phil, give me 3 facts as to why Kai can't beat you on stage.
2011, 2012, 2013.
Phil was locked in on his 4th title, but Kai was obsessed with finally taking him down. After 2 years of coming up short, he couldn't handle another loss. In 2014, when prejudging started, they went at it hard. Both men posed aggressively, trying to break each other. The energy in the room? Insane. The fans could feel the tension, the animosity. It was a war. Kai had bulked up even more, but somehow managed to keep his conditioning on point. Phil, as always, brought his trademark fullness, density, and deep separation. By the time finals rolled around, the stage was electric. But once again, Phil Heath was just too good. And when the final call was made, Phil Heath was crowned Mr. Olympia for the 4th time.
They will take all that and the title of 2014 Mr. Olympia is 4-time Mr. Olympia, Phil Heath!
At this point, his place in history was undeniable. Phil was obsessed with total Olympia dominance. His goal, win as many Olympias as possible. But then, the bodybuilding world was shocked. Kai Greeene announced that he wouldn't be competing in the 2015 Olympia. The reasons, unclear.
2015 Mr. Olympia is fastly approaching and not going to be allowed to compete. You don't get to this point and just stop. It doesn't happen like that.
But what was clear? Phil's biggest rival was gone. With Kai out, the title was wide open. But at this point, nobody was touching Phil. The only real competition left was Dexter Jackson, who brought an incredible package to the stage. But as great as Dexter looked, Phil was just too dominant. And with that, Phil Heath claimed his 5th Olympia title.
Ladies and gentlemen, the next name you hear will be your 2015 Mr. Olympia. Please take the Sandow Trophy and the title of 2015 Mr. Olympia. 5-time champion, the Gift Phil Heath!
In 2016, a new name entered the conversation, Shawn Rhoden. Shawn had been a top competitor for years, but this time, he brought a new level of conditioning and symmetry. He was now the closest anyone had ever been to taking down Phil Heath. But close. Close doesn't win titles. Phil was still Phil. Too dense, too full, too complete. Shawn looked incredible, but he wasn't sharp enough to take out the champ. And once again, Phil Heath was crowned Mr. Olympia. 6 titles, unstoppable.
Next name
And the
you
Sandow
hear
Trophy
will be your 2016 Mr. Olympia. And the title of 2016 Mr. Olympia is 6-time Mr. Olympia.
There it
Phil,
is.
the Gift.
Phil Heath makes it 6 in a row, tying Dorian Yates.
Deservingly 6-time Mr. Olympia. And I don't think anybody would have a problem with that decision tonight.
Your final competitor is your 6-time reigning and defending Olympia champion, the Gift Phil Heath.
By 2017, Phil Heath was still the best in the world. But now, he was at a point where any weakness would be magnified. And for the first time, he showed one. His midsection had become an issue. It was noticeably off, more glaring than ever before. But despite that, Phil did what he always did. He brought an overall package strong enough to hold on to the title. His biggest challenge? Big Ramy. Ramy had finally brought a complete, conditioned Olympia-worthy package. His size was unmatched and his presence on stage was undeniable, but Phil's muscle detail, density and deep separation still gave him the edge. And when the final call was made, Phil Heath was crowned Mr. Olympia for the 7th time. That win tied him with the GOAT, Arnold Schwarzenegger.
The Sandow and the title of 2017 Mr. Olympia.
The greatest bodybuilder on the planet, the recipient of the 2017 iconic Sandow Trophy, the 7-time Mr. Olympia, Phil the Gift Heath.
7 Sandow trophies. One of the most genetically gifted, hardest working and dominant champions the sport has ever seen. Phil Heath didn't just win, he built a legacy.